Welcome back to the O Hockey Show. Now today, I am talking to you through my new camera. Don't I look so nice now? Anyways, we are going to be talking about, I did the Eastern Conference, but now I'm going to do the Western Conference on the playoff teams slash the clinching teams, the hopeful teams, whatever you want to say, the teams that are hopeful for the playoffs and trying to win the Stanley Cup and what they need to win and succeed going forward. So let's jump into it with the Dallas Stars. So the Dallas Stars, to me, I think what they need, for one, is Jake Ottinger to play like the Otter. Be who he was that last offseason where they almost beat the Calgary Flames. I think that Jake Ottinger would be huge for this team, and I think it's every playoff team that wins the Stanley Cup. I mean, last few years, Vasilevsky, of course, being the superstar. Then you guys got guys like Braden Holtby with the Capitals, Jordan Binnington in 2019. Last season, Kemper wasn't really the star of the show, but that's what's going to happen when you're on an all-star team like that. He didn't really need to show off, but he was there when they needed him, so I guess so. But that's every winning Stanley Cup team needs their superstar goaltender, and Jake Ottinger, he has that potential to be. We know he does, and he just needs to play like that. And for the rest of this team, I think that right now, really, I think they just need to keep this team the way they're playing. They need to play this way. They can't fall off a cliff, which obviously it's like, well, duh, any winning team needs to play the winning ways. But I think they just need to stay solid. Guys like Jamie Benn, guys like Tyler Seguin, maybe even a Mason Marchment, don't fall off. Don't just keep playing this good season that you're finally on track for this year. And really, defensively, guys like Heiskanen in the playoffs, I would like to see him step up a little bit more, maybe drive a little bit more offense. And I'm thinking maybe they get one big trade deadline pickup. I don't really know who they would need, because, I mean, of course, obviously, you could say anything like, oh, bring in Patrick Kane, bring in Timo Meier, and I've said that in the last one. But this team, I think they need that one more kind of over-the-edge player to just push them to that. They're already good offensively, bring in one more guy defensively. And I'm thinking maybe this team could do one more guy on defense as well. A guy like a Gavrikov, but not really, but a guy like Jacob Chikrin, a guy who's already familiar with desert surroundings, I guess. But with Dallas, I think if they added a guy like Chikrin, that one more solid defenseman, I'm going to say the same thing about Winnipeg in a second, is that they're already pretty good all around, all over the board, and they have a hard guy to score against in net. But if you add another super good defenseman like Jacob Chikrin, along with your already Ryan Suter and Miro Heiskanen and Esa Lindell, I mean, it's just going to make it so much harder for other teams to score too. So really just keep playing the way you're playing, keep it up, and just bring in maybe one or two guys that just push you over the edge. Moving on to the Jets. Basically kind of the same thing, except I would say overall this team's pretty solid. That fourth line could use a little bit of work, but it's not that important. Defensively, personally, I don't like their type of defenses, like making your defense of guys like Dylan DeMello, Brendan Dillon, just not Nate Schmidt, just not really my like of defenseman, I guess. I mean, I know that might sound stupid, but it's just not who if I was a GM, not the guys I would build around. But that's what they have. And for me, I think the same thing. Jacob Chikrin. This team offensively is fantastic. I don't think they need to add in that one more guy. Sure, every team can add in that one more guy, but I don't think they need it. But defensively, if they could bring in a guy like Chikrin, or even if they brought in Chikrin and a guy like Vladislav Gavrikov, just those two guys to make it more impossible, they are going to score goals. This is a good offensive team. They already have Josh Morrissey and even Neil Pionk to make points. But they also have Dylan DeMello, Brendan Dillon, two shutdown guys. Bring in a guy like Jacob Chikrin. I mean, you've got a guy who can play both sides. That would just be huge for this team. It'd make their defense, and they already have Hellebuck in net as well. It would just make them over everything. They would be fantastic, and I think that would be a huge move for them to bring in that one. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Jacob Chikrin, but he's the one that's out there right now on the big name. I think that would be a huge move. So bringing a guy like Jacob Chikrin changes everything. Moving on to the Minnesota Wild. Really, I just think they need reinforcements. I think this Wild team, losing Fiala was a big one. but I think it kind of this team just needs a lot of help. I think offensively, their real power hitter, and we already know Kirill Kaprizov. They just need more of that, and I don't mean bring in another. I mean, sure, it's stupid. Sure, and you can say this about any team. Bring in another 50 goal scorer or something like that, right? But that's not what I'm saying. But they just need some offensive help, especially center. They only have really Joel Eriksson Ek as a good centerman. Their number one guy right now is Sam Steele. Not really a super good center. So a centerman would be nice for this team. And I just really... One thing that really strikes me with this team is that last year's Minnesota Wild with Fiala was better than this year's team. So, if that's kind of your standard that I'm going off of, then you kind of got to match that and even get better than that. So they need a guy like Fiala, and last year they didn't get the job done. So it makes you question, well, what does this team need? And I just think they need offensive reinforcements. Like, they're good. They have a good team, really. They have a good team, but they just don't have a Stanley Cup winning team. They're the type of team that might win the first round, but they're not getting past the second. So, really, they just need overall just upgrades everywhere, I would say. And that's not really something you can do in one season. So, for the Wild, I don't really know what they need other than saying just reinforcements of offense. Moving on to the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights. Offense is fine. They're so well and just so deep offensively. Defense, once again, it's just kind of my their defense is not made to get points. They have guys like Haig, like he's not getting points. Martinez isn't getting points. McNabb's not meant to get points. Those guys aren't brought onto the team to get 50 points as a defenseman, right? They're there to be good shutdown defensemen, and it works, which is kind of my whole point with Dallas and Winnipeg is that they could use a little bit more of that. But it works for Vegas because their offense gets the job done, their defense gets the job done. But then Logan Thompson, I'm not a naysayer of him. I'm not like he's like, oh, like, right? I am a fan of Logan Thompson. But I will say he is unproven in the playoffs. And from what I've seen of him, I'll be honest, I don't watch every single NHL game, but the games that I have seen him play, he's good. But games against like Colorado, he just doesn't seem to be. He's not a stealing. He's not giving your team a chance to win type goaltender as what I've seen. In the playoffs, that's kind of when a goaltender needs to light up the most. And for right now, Thompson and Adin Hill both are unproven in the playoffs in that realm. So that's kind of my only thing. So I would say maybe bring in a defenseman since Shea Theodore's out. Bring in one more defensive guy that could maybe generate some offense. But offensively, I mean, you're pretty good offensively. So just got to stand up and actually finally win the Stanley Cup for once instead of just being really good in the playoffs and then losing to a team that's below you. So moving on to the LA Kings. Now, the LA Kings, once again, I've said this for every team, but overall this team's pretty solid. But they're young, they're unproven, they need that. I think they just need a little bit more offensive power, just a little bit more threats in the lineup. So I really think that the trade deadline, bring in a guy like JVR, maybe even a guy like Brock Besser, who's young. You could maybe bring him onto the team and then keep him a while. And then or like a guy like Tarasenko. I think this team would really benefit because this team's really young. They don't have any true, like, they're younger guys. No one's real. I think they need someone who's a veteran to be on the line with Anze Kopitar, or maybe on like the second line to bring everyone up. But they did. That was a great move for them to bring in a guy like Fiala, and I think they need one more guy like that at the trade deadline. Bring someone else in to get a couple more goals for this team in the offseason, in the playoffs. Because last year, I mean, this team is young and hungry. They have all the energy in the world. This team's just fantastic. But in the playoffs, I'm thinking they just need a little bit more just veteran leadership there. Because that is one thing. They're young, but they don't have those playoff experiences. And I usually am against people saying that, but they truly just don't. They had last year, and maybe they go in this year with the being on fire and wanting to win more. But I just think they need a little bit more top-end help. Moving on to Seattle. Seattle, top to bottom, once again, solid. Top to bottom. However, top-wise isn't very top. And and I know it's a weird thing to say, but really, their top guys on first lines, it isn't enough to win. And I think, once again, they would really benefit from bringing in a guy like Brock Besser to complement a guy like Beniers, a young guy, future goal scorer that you could bring onto your team. Maybe a guy like Timo Meyer, but that's an interdivision, maybe not happen. Guy in Seattle, they have cap space. Maybe bring in a guy like Patrick Kane. I don't know. Him with the young guys of Beniers and Burakovsky and Kane, it could work. That could work. I think Seattle's one of the few playoff teams that actually could pull that off. What they would trade away, I don't know. But they can make it financially work. And moving on to the wild card teams. So right now, Calgary, we are kind of underwhelming as per usual, but defensively, I think they need help. Offense is fine, but those guys need to stand up. Guys like Huberdeau, guys like Kadri, just really overall, these guys need to stand up and play a little bit better and play to their contracts, especially a guy like Huberdeau. Mackenzie Weegar, he's only got 10 points. That guy that you traded for defenseman, just not there. So, really, just defensively, this team needs some more. And Markstrom in net, he's, like 13-10 or 15-13, something like that. He needs to step up a little bit more, but that's also his team's fault for not winning. So, Markstrom could use, I think it's more that Markstrom needs some help in front of him. Moving on to the Oilers. So, really, top six, fantastic. I mean, I don't know if I've seen better numbers from the top six guys in all the other teams that I've looked at. But bottom six is just flat out, I've come up with a new word, mid-minus. They are less than mid. It is just terrible. Defensively, offensively, the bottom guys, absolutely terrible. I know Stuart Skinner, the love child of everyone or something, not that good. He's just not that good. He started out a couple good games. He's just not that good. And then we've got the Avalanche. So they are out of the playoff spot currently, but they're out. I think they've played less. They have games in hand behind the teams in front of them, and they're only like 2 points out from a playoff spot. So Avs looking pretty good right now, but I would say the same thing to them about the Edmonton Oilers, is that their top six is great. However, I would say it just points-wise isn't as good, and it doesn't match the Oilers' top six guys. And then bottom six is even worse than the Oilers' bottom six guys. That is just bad. So bottom six and defense too. Defense, other than Cale Makar and Devontae's, the bottom defenseman, just flat out bad. Goaltending, Georgiev, is he really the guy that you think is going to bring you to a Stanley Cup? I don't think so. So I think they just need I don't even really know what this team would need. I mean, I said this in my season preview that their bottom six, they need an improvement of that. So same thing still goes. I just think they need a better bottom six. They can't bring in guys like Darren Helm, a 47-year-old old man, to be your bottom six for defending Stanley Cup team. The St. Louis Blues, really, I just think they need a top centerman / Ryan O'Reilly replacement. And this team right now currently is pretty banged up, so that's going to hurt them a lot. But really, I think they just need a better, they need to bring in another, Robert Thomas can be your top center, but like a second-line center guy. Also, goaltending needs an upgrade. Binnington is not Binnington. Greiss is not good enough. This team, now I will say, I said this a few weeks ago, I think, and I was like, the Blues, they're on the perfect 2019 Stanley Cup run once again, because they started at the bottom of the league and now they're working their way back up, and they're going to have all the momentum in the world in the playoffs. So who knows what the hell's going to happen with them. And then last but not least, the Nashville Predators, a team that I claimed could have been a Stanley Cup champion this year, and I still think they could. It's just their guys need to step up. Guys like Tanner Jeannot, who was a vital part of the team last year, he has 8 points right now. That is just not good enough. Ryan McDonough, I know he's not a points guy, but he only has 10 points. He has 1 goal and 9 assists. He just scored his first goal the other day. Just not good enough. This team just is not, their players are just not good enough. And let the Predators be an example to all the teams on this board, is to those guys, they need to step up. Because a guy, like the Winnipeg Jets, a guy like Cole Perfetti, let's say, not just Cole Perfetti, but let's say Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers, let's say they stop playing. It just kind of ruins this entire team. So, that is really all I have to say today about the Western Conference playoff hopeful teams. And that's it. So thank you for watching this. Please pick up your free subscription by hitting that red subscribe button. If you like this video, leave a like, not a dislike. We go down to the comment section and leave any... Tell me how stupid I am. That's right. Tell me how stupid I am. I know I'm an idiot for what I've said, so tell me all that down below, that I'm just the dumbest person you've ever seen. And tell me that. But thank you for watching this. And till next time, too sweet. I hope you're having an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.